Going from a cult to an abusive marriage to now helping others. Along the way, our next guest boldly reclaimed who she is and is now ready to guide others to do the same. Hi, and welcome to the You World Order Showcase podcast, where we feature life, health, transformational coaches, and spiritual entrepreneurs stepping up to be the change they seek in the world. I'm your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist, on a mission to help coaches and entrepreneurs amplify their voice, monetize their mission, and get visible, leveraging podcasts and the huge audience we have over on the Gnostic TV network. Today, we are chatting with Michelle Manley. Michelle has been on a lifelong journey and a lifelong spiritual and healing journey, and her path has led her to healing and wholeness, as well as healing herself of debilitating chronic health issues. She is a Soma spiritual coach, multi-dimensional energy practitioner, Reiki master teacher, and Jungian tarot card reader. As a cult and domestic violence survivor, she is deeply trauma sensitive, and she helps guide her diverse clientele to find their unique equilibrium in their daily life as well as their spiritual lives. Welcome to the show, Michelle. It's really great to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here.
I forgot to tell you that I was going to ask you this question. So I'm going to spring it on you, and I really hate to do this to you, but it's just to help you kind of like get into where you want to go with this conversation. So the question is, what's the most significant thing, in your opinion, we can do as individuals to impact the way the world is going?
Shine your light, be yourself, be wholly in the uniqueness of you. I think if all of us are out there shining our lights, and being our real selves, not putting on masks, not trying to appease people, but truly being ourselves, that's the best gift we can give the world.
Oh, I still agree. No more hiding behind what you're supposed to be doing or who you should be showing up as. Just be yourself. And what do you think is what was the turning point for you in all of this?
Well, my ex-husband, who was abusive, tried to kill me on Mother's Day in 2012, which was definitely a turning point. There are some of these, I keep thinking of the universe kind of had to push me because I'd actually already asked him for a separation, but I was still kind of waffly. And this was definitely there's no going back now. And even then, I did try at one point to work on the marriage, but he has a lot of mental health issues. And at the time, wasn't taking responsibility, so there really was no option left. But that was a watershed moment for me.
Wow, that's got to be horrifying to find yourself in that position. But sometimes, don't you love how the universe, you're thinking if I just try harder, it's got to be my fault somehow. Because, that's the message we always get when we're growing up. And that, a marriage is supposed to be forever, and you're fundamentally flawed if you can't make it last forever. And then the universe is like, no, I said, you're done.
It's literally what happened. It's like, nope, and full stop. So, and it turned out to be absolutely the best thing that could possibly have happened. Maybe not the way I would have designed it, but absolutely what I needed.
And then but it becomes part of your story. So it's not like you have to sit in this and now you have to be labeled as somebody that is a victim and had to go. It's almost like people can get trapped in re-experiencing that trauma over and over again instead of just moving through it and leaving it behind. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
That's so true. And it's funny, for me, it was almost the opposite. I was like, okay, I'm better. I'm fine. Everything's good. I actually had to go back and revisit being a victim. Like I had a real hard time with that. Like, no, I'm not a victim. But finally, with some help, I was able to see that, no, I was indeed a victim. And I think embodying that for a short period of time was essential to my being able to get out of it. But yeah, I think it's very easy to stay stuck, to not see the potential roads out, the avenues that may be presenting themselves, especially if you're like being abused, you're already beaten down. So it then becomes even harder to imagine things being any different. You get in the message that you don't deserve anything different. So it's tough. You can really stay there. And I did for 12 years.
I think that your whole point about mourning is a valid one. We sometimes just want people to move on after they've come through something that's really traumatic, especially something that's lasted for a really long time, like a relationship ending, whether it's a divorce or you're just leaving a long-term partner or breaking up with, we break up with friends and we don't really think about that. But these are all, mourning is just it's a period of time where you can evaluate and let go of it. And there's like a certain number of steps that you go through when you mourn for something. But if you allow yourself to recognize, okay, I'm going to just go through these steps, I'm going to be good with it, then you can actually move through the steps rather than just saying, okay, I'm fine. And then whack, you're back into step number 8 because you just skipped over step number 8 and you never allowed your body to, and it really is your body more than your mind, to just process the chemicals that are still floating around there because you didn't deal with it. So they haven't gotten the antidote, so to speak, to release those and let your body kind of heal through the trauma. When they talk about wounding, it's because you physically are wounded because of the chemicals that are released into your body.
Absolutely. And I think, I call that the allowing, allow yourself to feel. And for me, that's always been a challenge. I was somebody who was very good at stuffing my emotions and not allowing myself to heal. And you're right, your body, I'm absolutely sure that was the reason I had chronic health issues, because I wasn't allowing my body to process exactly what I was going through. I just kept stuffing and moving on. So eventually my body was like, we can't do this anymore. As much as we'd like to support you, no. And that was amazing. I think it's one of the more amazing parts of my healing journey is to see how much less physical pain I am in now. I had pretty bad fibromyalgia for a long time. And I would say at this point it's in remission, and it is due to the allowing of my body to process as it needs to and not question it. Not like, oh, I shouldn't need 2 days to get over it. Well, you know what? If it takes 2 weeks, that's what it takes, and giving myself the space and the love and the nurturance has resulted in things I could never have imagined.
Yeah, we just have, it's really a process of being trained into, we have to fit in these certain molds and we have to show up all the time, 100%. That's not who people are. We don't expect that of animals. So why do we expect it of ourselves? It's kind of silly when you think about it. And especially as women, because women and men are fundamentally different in the way their bodies work. And I'm not just talking about like the outside look. And apparently there's lots of different combinations genetically of how we're put together. Like our chromosomes are not necessarily the same as our expression, our physical expression of gender, but all of those pieces have different cycles. Like genetically, women have a certain set of hormones that hit our bodies different periods of time during a monthly cycle, whereas men have a different set of hormones, and it's and some women, their hormone levels are different. My point is that everybody is unique in that their bodies are doing the thing that their body was designed to do. And when we're trying to say there's only 2 ways to be, it never works.
And if you think about life,
really, it's usually just there's one way to be. and it's
Exactly. And I
men.
think we're, oh, sorry. Yeah. I think we're shocked when we have bad days, when statistically, you're not going to have all good days. Like, it's okay to allow the tough days to happen without judgment and without, gnashing of teeth and rending of clothes. But just like, okay, this is a bad day. And moving on and allowing. And so much, you're speaking so much to my heart here, because there is so much happening physically that we are really asking our body not to do, when it is absolutely designed to do the very thing we're asking it not to do. And that's the disconnect that happens so often in our 21st century society, where our bodies are still not, 21st century bodies. They are, still designed the way they were originally designed. And that involves some downtime, and that involves some tough days, and that involves some recuperation.
And rituals.
And rituals.
We need rituals in our lives, and we need to appreciate and set aside time for rituals, because rituals help us leave markers along the way that are like, okay, I'm moving through this season. It's okay. It's not going to be for everything. When I finally realized, and I was quite a bit older, and I realized that nothing is a forever thing. There's seasons in life, just like there's seasons for the weather. There's times when things are going to go a certain way, but it's not going to be that way. Like, it never snows all day in a big, huge area. If you're traveling, like I was a truck driver for a while, and when this occurred to me, it was like, you're going to travel through the snow. It's not going to be like slugging it out in the snow all day long. You're not going to slug out your horrible emotions for like weeks on end. It just doesn't happen. There's just like a period of time when you're going to have to move through it. Appreciate it. Leave space for yourself.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And life is nothing if not cyclical. It's just going to keep rolling on. And I think another thing that can trip us up is we think there's a destination here. It's like, oh, when I do this, then everything's going to be great. And that's just simply not how life works. It's the journey that creates the meaning. There is no final destination at which point we've won the game. It doesn't work in that way. It's a matter of...
Well, actually, there is. It's death.
Well,
and
yes.
People don't want to acknowledge that, but we're all going to die at some point. Get over it. Enjoy the ride.
Exactly. I've had a long journey with grief and death. And one of the things that it's taught me is that, everything else burns away, but who you truly are. Everything else can be taken away, in a heartbeat. But you, at your core, that's what you have, and that's what you have to nurture, and that's what you have to present to the world. It's that beauty of you-ness that we denigrate so much in the society, because we often tell people, like, be yourself, but not like that. It's like, no. It's so silly. But, when I see people that are just truly being their awkward, just happy-go-lucky selves, it just fills my heart, because I'm like, that's it right there. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's being unafraid to just try stuff. Just, they say dance like nobody's watching. Well, just do stuff like nobody's watching, because ultimately nobody is watching. They're more concerned with themselves and how they're appearing than what you look like and how you're appearing.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny. It's one of my favorite memories. My son, one time, he was about 3, and he had to been 4, and he was just, acting out, and I'm like, not sharing. And I'm like, hey, you're not the only person in the world. And he turned to me and goes, but in my head I am. And it was like profound. I'm like, you're right. In my head I am too. And it's truly, we're more concerned with what we're doing and less concerned with what the other guy is doing. And that in there should be some freedom.
A lot of it. So I have to ask you this question before I ask you some other questions, but what is the difference between Jungian tarot and regular tarot or other kinds of tarot?
Absolutely. Most tarot, well, I should say most, many people read tarot for divinatory reasons, to know what's going to be coming down the road. I read it from an energetic point of view and the shadow side. So when I pull cards, we're not talking about, well, we will bring in the energies, but not specifics. We're really talking about how this affects your shadow side, the parts of you that you're not in touch with. So it's a very much a deep dive into your subconscious. It's not, it's less about what's going to happen and more about what's going on internally. I call them a snapshot, an energetic snapshot of this moment in time. And it can really help somebody orient themselves on their path. Like, okay, now I have I'm more grounded. I have a more sense of who I am and what I'm doing and where the energies are coming from and how I'm interacting with them. So it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it sounds really interesting. Do you use the regular tarot deck?
Yep.
I know there's like 900 different kinds of tarot decks, but wait or right, I guess is what I'm... Right or wait?
Rider-Waite. I don't use the Rider-Waite exactly, but I use a traditional deck based on that deck, generally speaking.
Okay. And you use the normal spreads, or do you have a different spread?
I do. Mine are wholly personalized. So we pull cards based on what your needs are and what your intention is for the reading. So I just keep pulling cards until we have gotten to the point where we know where you're at and what's coming next and how you're feeling, and then we end the session. So it's very intuitive. It's very much based on what the person needs.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So that kind of brings me around to how do you coach people, and what kind of people do you coach, and what kind of things do you help them with? Lots of questions.
It's funny. I tend to attract women in their 40s and above. Usually they are women who tended to be overgivers, people who perhaps have woken up as menopause hits and realize that, they spent 20 years living for other people. And rightly so. Many were raising families. I mean, there are legitimate reasons for that, but you get disconnected from yourself in that journey. And so basically I help you come into communion with yourself. We get really still. We listen to the signals your body is sending, because I believe that the universe communicates to us through our subconscious, and the subconscious communicates to us through our bodies. So we get really still. We listen to what your body is saying. We teach you how to make your body a safe place if it's not a safe place right now. There's a lot of steps involved there. And generally, I see people really come back into greater alignment with who they are. I see people, the word empowerment is thrown out, a lot, but that truly is what happens. They become into their own power, their unique power, their person they were meant to always be. And it's beautiful to watch them come back to life, because a lot of times they'll come in drained and overwhelmed and not sure where to go. And, eventually they're like, oh, I know who I am. I know what I want to do. I know how to do it. We work on boundaries. We work on, real world applications of these more esoteric instructions. And it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. Is it one-on-one, or is it group, or is it a combination of both?
One-on-one currently. I am just about to start a group program. Should hopefully be ready to go in June, which will be really fun. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm hopefully by the end of the year going to do a membership as well. So, because I just love working with people one-on-one. And then when you get the good people in together and the energy starts building, it's a beautiful thing.
I love that. I love groups. They're just like, you meet people that become lifelong friends.
Yeah.
And somebody will ask a question that is life-changing for you, but you would have never thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. There is definitely that power in community. I mean, I truly believe that community is one of the main pillars of healing. And it's something that for a lot of women in particular, it's not something that they have. because as women we're taught to be so competitive with each other, to know that you can sit in sacred space with other women, because I host online women's circles, and it's a similar thing. People will start sharing and somebody will be like, well, me too, and I'm not the only one that felt that way. And it's so incredibly empowering when you can just sit with people that get you.
And when you start forming communities, or you join communities of other people who share similar interests with you, or exploring things like you teach in your coaching, it allows you to meet people that are kind of on the same path you're on. Whereas during your 20s and 30s and moving into even your 40s, depending on when you started having kids, because a lot of times women their circle of friends has to do with who it's hung out with, and those people's parents, or the people at the little league games, or your life just gets so sucked up in your kids these days that you don't have space for yourself, or for cultivating relationships with other people who have similar interests as you have. And it's kind of fun to start exploring the world with other people that want to look at the world the way you're looking at it, or are interested in just exploring and are curious.
It's a very different feel when you're meeting people with the same intention versus just situational. I could think back to jobs I've had where I've had great friends, but once the job ended, they fizzled out. There's a few that have lasted through the years, but it's most of it is situational. But when you're sharing a similar vision, that's when real magic can happen. That's where real exchange of ideas and energy can absolutely. And we become greater than the sum of our parts, I believe, because we're infinitely greater when we're together.
Yeah. And the more conversations you have with different people, is something I've learned over almost 500 interviews I've done as a podcaster. Your mind is open to the potential of all of these other experiences. It just, the more people you can meet and just have a conversation with, the more your mind can expand. And I really think that whole synergy of energy that's going on is what is turning the tide and how the world is going.
Yeah, I believe there is some sort of spiritual awakening happening. I see it. I see it amongst my friends. I see it amongst the people coming to me. And it does. It's almost like the sirens call and people are waking up, and it's so beautiful. It's leading to inner alchemy for people. They're changing on the inside, and they're, again, becoming themselves and claiming so much of themselves. And in that is exponentially so much potential. And yeah, it's an amazing thing.
I love that it encourages people to look within themselves for answers rather than to look outside for external saviors, because nobody else knows you. The government doesn't care about you. I'm more often than not thinking that they're trying to kill us off. It's just my opinion, but it feels that way. And this big cabal of big business that are pushing politicians to make decisions, and it's not just in one country, it's worldwide. It's a big problem. But as more and more people are waking up and realizing, hey, I've got all the power to make a difference in the world, and I can just start with my own little circle. But as my energy expands, those people are going to be affected, and they'll affect other people. And eventually, in my worldview, we're going to end up with a world where everybody can just be themselves, and we can all just appreciate each other for what we're good at, and not judge each other for not being the best at everything, and not feel like we personally have to be the best at everything or responsible for everything.
Yeah, the weight of that is crushing people. It absolutely is just crushing people, this weight of external and internal expectations. And the internal is just as bad, maybe worse than the external. That inner
Yeah.
critic is really tough, because I think about it even with myself, even with all my healing work. There are times I talk to myself in a way I would not talk to somebody else, and it's like I catch it and we reframe it,
Mhm.
but the tendency is still there, and that's a real problem, you know. But I
Mhm.
love the vision of a world where people can just be themselves and be honored for just being themselves.
Yeah. That- That's what I'm looking forward to.
Mm.
I think it would make a big difference. So, how do I know you have the 5 rituals to connect your energy resource for people. You want to
Yep.
talk to that for just a second?
Sure, if they're very simple rituals, and ritual is just something that you do repeatedly. Making your tea in the morning can be a ritual. Sitting down with your tea in the morning news is a ritual. These are just short rituals to really reconnect with your own energy, to come back to center. Throughout the day, I designed it to be very quick, very short. They all can be done they could be done for 20 minutes, but they can also be done for like 5 minutes. And I think that if you can connect to your energy 3 times a day for 5 minutes, you're going to have remarkable differences in how you're managing things. Give it a few weeks and you're going to feel different.
And it doesn't take a whole lot of time, but shifts
Nope.
happen quickly. And then you just,
Absolutely. And especially with your energy, when you're tuning into your own energy, yeah, the magic happens very quickly.
I love that. And so, how can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook as Michelle Manley. I know there are a lot of Michelle Manleys, but my picture is right there, so that makes it a little easier. And then on LinkedIn, I'm also Michelle Manley, and Instagram, it's Mystic Healing Alchemy, which is my business name. And then I'm at michellemmmanley.com/home. That's my landing page that you will find the 5 rituals on there, and best way to reach me.
And you also have a Facebook community. Can you talk about that for a
Yes,
minute?
I do. I can believe I forgot that. Mystic Healing Alchemy is my group, and it's a lovely group, warm-hearted people. It's very lovingly curated. Like, I am really protective of that space. The people that come in there bring their whole selves, and they bring such beautiful pieces of themselves in, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's focused on somatic healing, the divine feminine, mindset work, metaphysics, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but together it really forms a cohesive, nice place to land on the internet.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful space. Thank
I
you
like
so
it.
much for Thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle.
Thank you for having me.
To learn more about Michelle and to connect with her and join her Facebook group, or to get her 5 rituals to connect your energy, be sure to check out www.michellemmmanley.com/home. And I will be sure and put that link in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. If you have a podcast or you're interested in starting one to get your message in front of our huge and active audience, be sure to reach out to us at jill@gnostictv.com. We love to help spiritual entrepreneurs and coaches amplify their voice and monetize their mission, and offer a variety of ways to do this on the Gnostic TV network platform. Join us for our next episode as we share what others are doing to raise the global frequency. And remember, change begins with you. You have all the power to change the world. Start today and get visible.